Good afternoon, everybody. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we should start with the class. Hello, I'm Pragya. I'll be taking your class today for elements of design. Is my screen visible? It'll be great if you guys respond in yes, no, maybe, या फिर अगर मैं कुछ questions पूछूं तो. मुझे आप लोगों का चैट बॉक्स नहीं दिखेगा बिकॉज मेरी स्क्रीन शेयर है जो, तो आप लोगों को कुछ भी क्वेश्चंस है in the middle of the session, so you can ask, and with your mics on, please. All right, is my screen visible? Yes, no, maybe.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So today we are going to start with elements of design, elements and principles of design. Anybody in the class who knows what exactly do you mean by elements or principles of design by simple English? किसी को पता है कि क्या होता है? Elements of design कुछ छोटे छोटे parts होते हैं of design through which a proper design is made. And principles of design are उन elements को use करके कुछ sort of rules होते हैं जिनसे हम design को practice करते हैं. So you can say elements are the ingredients of a recipe and principles is the process कि आप कैसे उस recipe को बना रहे हैं, आप कैसे कोई for example केक बना रहे हैं, तो आपको जो जो उसके लिए ingredients चाहिए उसको हम कहेंगे elements of design. और जो उसका process है बनाने का, baking, cooking, mixing, beating, those are called principles of design, right? So we will move with elements of design. That is the first part of design, which is actually very important for you, for everybody. All right. So for everybody, elements of design, these are the basic 8 elements of design. There can be more additions to these elements of design also, but these are the basic that you need to know for now. And in the near future, when you join your college or whatever institute you join, you will learn more elements and principles, which are actually part of subparts of these main elements only. So the first element is dot. Second is line, shape, form, tone, texture, color, and text. You must have heard of all these terms before also. But what exactly are these and how can you use them in your exam or the industry that you're going to enter? Right? So the first one is shape. I might also annotate on the screen. So please let me know if that is also visible. So the first element is dot. So what is dot? Everybody must have heard this is a dot, right? And dot cannot be broken down further, as I've written on the screen also, that with a dot, it is not usually possible to break it down further. This is also a dot. This is also a dot. This is also a dot. Dots can be of different sizes. But when you use dots like this or like this, you make a design. Or maybe it is very important for you or to and to realize कि आप कैसे उस dot को use कर रहे हो, dots आप कैसे शुरुआत कर रहे हो for one design, and then you move further to making patterns or to make designs. You can see here also, this is again a pattern. And if these are two dots, and when you add a line in between, it makes another design. So now you have to decide what design you have to proceed with, and what sort of you have to decide basically what sort of pattern do you want to create with this design. Which brings to our second element, which is line. Line is, again, a line can be defined as a linear mark, which is one simple line. Line can be used in different ways: a straight line, dotted line, breaking line, waved line. Line word itself has so many lines in it, right? Any questions till now? Everybody? Badal, Meenakshi, Riya, Shiva, any questions? All right. I would again request you to please switch on your mics and say, because I have to switch off my screen again and again. All right. These are also very good example of lines. Lines are also usually used for leading purposes, to have a point to show you the direction. अब अगर आप इस वाली image में देखोगे, lines are used. This is a photograph of a pillar which is clicked from the down side, and it is showing you the leading lines where the pillar is going. Similarly here, this is again showing you the direction. You everybody understands perspective here in the class? Okay. So if you don't understand perspective, it is basically the depth or the perspective of what you see in the scenery. So again, this is also creating a leading line, which is showing you the direction of the depth of the scenery. Similarly here, these are also curved lines, which are which can be used in a 3D or a 2D way. Yes, okay. Next is shape. Everybody understands what is shape, right? But everybody knows in the class what is shape, how is it made. So when you create lines, that is our second element of design. And when you enclose those lines, when you enclose multiple lines, as you can see here, when you will enclose these, this creates a shape. If I enclose this part of the triangle, it will be a closed, full-fledged shape. This is the third element of design. Lines, straight lines or curved lines, when these are connected together, these create two-dimensional shapes, which is the 2D shape. A 2D shape is usually, everybody understands what is a 2D shape? A 2D shape has no depth. It is a flat, usual 2D shape. Yes. In this image also, you can see this is a very good example of different sort of shapes, which are 2D shapes again. This is a camera, a lighthouse, a cylinder maybe. And this has different types of lines in it, which can be curved or straight. Here, a shoe maybe, or a strap, torch, radio, a navigator. Everything has 2D shapes, which are made with the third element of design, which is line again. Next, we come to form. Form is it is not a 2D shape, it is a 3D shape. When we change the lines and when we add tones or shadows or light to these 2D shapes, which were seen in the previous slide, you make a form or an object. Everybody understands the difference between a shape and an object. You can see on the screen what a shape means and what a form means. You can see over here, a shape is a 2D shape, which is a square, which can be seen on the screen again. And when you add depth to it, when you add lines, tones, or shadows to it, you make a form. Right? Now, what is an object? If you get a question in your exam that you have to create a composition using shapes, then you understand what composition you have to make. Guys, please respond in the class. I won't be able to teach like this. You will have to be responsive. And when you're told that you have to make a form, which is you have to make a composition with forms using forms, then you understand what you have to make, right? You can see over here also, this is a basic 2D triangle. And when you add depth to it, it becomes a cone or a pyramid, not a cone exactly, a pyramid. A cone, this could also become a cone if you add some sort of circumference to it like this. Same goes over here. This is a basic circle. And when you add, to make a circle look like a form, which is a 3D form, you need to add shadows and light to it, and it can be done through various methods like shading, rendering, etc. You can see in this image also, these are different sort of forms, and we have created the depth in it by adding shadows in, right? When you add shadows in these basic forms, then you give life to this composition, or maybe you give some depth to this composition, which adds an interesting aspect also in the composition, which is interesting for the examiner also, and it also gives an idea of what you are trying to tell in your story. It is not a basic in your design. It is not a basic shape. It has different forms or what you are trying to say. Right now, I would like everybody in the class, by using these 4 elements of design, which is dot, line, shape, and a form. I want you to make one composition in class right now. You have 5-7 minutes. You can start. It can be a small basic composition, and you could maybe share your screens or turn on your cameras and then show it to me. Any basic composition, any basic pattern, repeated pattern using dots, anything.
No, that's Akka.
Sorry. I have an assignment. I've given an assignment. Somitri, is that how you pronounce your name? You're having issues. All right. Other students, please do this assignment. You have 5 minutes, 7 minutes. Time till 6:30. 10 minutes. Am I clear, or you want me to repeat? Monica, Ria, Minakshi, Saruja, Ibrahim. Yes, please. I'm waiting. And I want you to share your screens. Done, everybody? Ibrahim done. Meenakshi, Monalika, Monica. All right, you can show me whatever you have done till now so that we can at least proceed with the class. So, Mitri, guys, you will have to respond. I won't be able to proceed like this. And you won't be able to give a good exam if you don't be responsive in the class. Riya, Meenakshi, I will just teach and leave if you guys want me to do that. Riya, am I audible? All right, we'll just proceed with the PPT then. So dot is clear. Then we had come to line. Then this is again leading lines. This can also be a very good example of the assignment that I had given to you right now. Any basic composition with lines or shapes, etc. This is again shape, which was the assignment given to you. Form. Next, we move to tone. As I've told you before also that we need some sort of tone, shadows, or any leading tone in one object, in one basic object. Having technical problems, so I might not be able to turn my video on. So Mitri, I don't want you to turn your video on, just show me what you have done by sharing your screen, that's it. If you want to do that. All right, so next is tone. A tone is how dark or bright a color can be. If you have done color theory or color psychology, you might have learned about shades, tints, and tones. So tone is when you add gray to a color, and how dark or how light by adding the gray color in the individual original color, how dark or light the tone of a color can be, or how dark or bright, you could say. A shadow is usually illustrated in a darker tone than its surroundings. You can see in this image also, the tone of the shadow is darker than the surroundings. You can see in your daily life also, usually the shadow that falls is most of the times, actually all of the times, darker than the surroundings, which you can say. So there can be different tones to a color also. Maybe in this cuboid, you can also see pink has different tones or maybe tints to its color. So that is what you understand by tone. There is another example of tone, which is in this picture. You can see there are different tones of blues, which show how darker the blue is. The border of this book, this is actually a book cover in the beginning of the sea by Thomas. So this is a book cover which is a very good example of tones. There are darker tones on the border of the book cover, which actually makes you makes it look like somebody is watching from the bushes and somebody is seeing at the sea, and there is moonlight falling on the sea. which is the lightest part. I'll annotate on the screen again. If you see, this is the lightest part of blue, which shows that the moonlight light is reflecting in the water. By adding darker and lighter tones, you also see a perspective, a depth, which is very important in any sort of composition to create depth, which you can, I have told you before also which you can do by shadows or by adding color, different tones of color. The illustrator has used darker tones to create a frame, which is the darker leaves. He has shown a perspective, and also different elements can be divided through tones, again, which can be seen clearly here. The sixth element of design is texture. Texture helps an illustration to feel realistic. Whenever there is a texture or on any form, for example, there is a texture on a cube. If you are blindfolded and you are given a cube, by feeling its texture, you will be able to understand what material is that. How does that feel? That is why texture is very important on your forms or composition or the product or object drawing that you do in your exam or for your college also when you move to the industry. Adding texture to a form is very important. By here also you can see the first texture is of a paper. The second texture is of a marble or a tile. Third is water texture. And fourth is sand texture. Everything is cropped in a cube, in a rectangle, but you can differentiate what texture is it by just looking at it, by the feel of it. Texture brings a feeling to the product or the design that you have made, as I've told you before also. And imagining, whenever you make a product, you can imagine by those illustrations or by your product that you have created, that how will those feel by touching. Maybe this pen stand around me, it has a texture here. Everybody can see my, look at my screen please. The texture I have on this pen stand, by just feeling it, I can understand that this is plastic and it has some texture on it. Similarly goes for a scale. This is a plasticky texture. By just feeling it, I can tell that this is something plastic or wooden or maybe jute, etc. Now we can, these were about the products that I was talking about. You can also differentiate in terms of when you learn shading, you will learn texture shading also. When you differentiate wood, steel, glass, how to shade steel, how to shade glass. These are different types of textures that you create in individual products. Now, texture can be also added in texts, which is textual forms. You must have heard about serif and sans serif text, which are very common in your normal basic softwares like Word, PPT, or Microsoft Office. Basically, these are very common text if you have heard, or you must have seen a lot of text options in these basic softwares. So this is again a text ever upward. If you see, the depth of the text is faded, worn out. If you see, ever upward is a brand and the text it has, it's for its logo, it is worn out, faded, it is a little old style, it shows retro style. So it is also communicating a message by its its logo, which gives a older, a retro feel, that it is an authentic brand. It is a reliable brand. It is a long-lasting brand. There are different brands that have different types of logos. I will show you some examples in the coming slides also. Every brand owns an aesthetic, and the brand again follows these elements of design also in creating its logo, in creating its brand identity by just the text that they choose. If there's a women's wear brand, for example, Nika, you must have seen Nika is the logo of Nika. It is pink and it is a little feminine logo. So it by just its text, it shows how what the brand is trying to communicate to its audience or to its consumers. Which brings us to the next element of design, which is uh, text, right? So there is color also. I'll come to that later on. First, we move to text after this. So text, it is just not, I've written on the screen, it is a very good quote. It is just not what you say, but how you say. So design, text, placement of the text, the color that you choose in your text, in your product is very important as the for not for just the words, but the letters itself. Now, if you see here the text that is written, it is not just what you say, but how you say it, but it is also important how you write it, how you use the text. So this is a very interesting text. If you have written it in a normal way, like I've written this line, which is this line, this won't be very interesting to read. But this line, this won't be very interesting to read. But this attracts a lot of audience because it is bold. It is interestingly written. It has used a lot of colors, right? Um, these are the example of texts that I was talking about. There are hundreds and thousands forms of text forms or typography forms, and and you can obviously create new forms of text or typography also every day. If you see, "hey" is written, and every form has a very different typography style, even though everything is in pink, but if you see, the more cursive text, the more cursive typography gives either a very child, if we talk about brand purposes, it gives a very childish or a very feminine vibe, which are strong texts, which have edgy corners. They can be maybe used more in menswear brands or brands that are associated with strength. Any questions in here now? Anybody, do you want to give any examples of any brands which have interesting texts or logos in it? Or maybe you might have seen any elements used in there. Anybody in the class? So these are again examples of text. My screen is visible. Everybody, I've shared it again. Yes, no, maybe. Thank you. These are few examples of brands that have used text in their logos. Nika, as I told you, it is a very pinky logo. It gives feminine vibe. It is cursive. It is rounded on the corners. Again, if you talk about US Polo, it is a very strong logo. The text is very strong, very boxy. It shows that what they are trying to say. Since 1980s, I have told you before also how they show authenticity in the brand. It clearly says their logo and their text that it is a very rough and tough, a very sporty or a strong brand for men. Next is McDonald's, or maybe these are eating brands, which are Burger King, McDonald's, Domino's, KFC, Carl's Jr. These brands usually have very attractive colors, which are the primary colors, if you might know. Primary colors are red, yellow. Do you know what are primary colors? Everybody, red, yellow, blue, green are primary colors. Okay. Basically, basic colors from the color wheel. These use colors which have a longer wavelength. The warm colors, which are red, shades of yellow, tones of yellow, it attracts kids or eating joints. You must have seen these eating joints from a very far away place on highways or maybe markets or malls, whichever you go, they have very sparkling or good wavelength logos. That's why they use colors like yellow and red, which I have told you already. It attracts kids, like it attracts young crowd or maybe hungry crowd that are hungry and want to eat or spend time at eating joints. You must have seen there is the signals have red, yellow, and green color only, because these are the basic colors which have longer wavelength. These are warm colors. This might be asked in your exam also, that what are warm colors, what is the sort of why are they used in the signals, or why are they used in products or logos, or maybe you have to create a logo for a kids wear brand. What colors will you use? Why will you use these colors? So you should know the answer. These colors have a longer wavelength, so that is why you can use these colors. Which brings to our last element, which is color. Everybody knows what is a color. So everybody must have seen it sometime in their school or college, etc. Right? Yes? No? Is there anybody in the class who hasn't seen it? All right. Ibrahim. Is Ibrahim the only one who's attending the class? Nobody else is responsive. Guys, at least be responsive on the chat if you cannot uh, speak up. Larry, KP, Ria, Monalika. Have you seen a color wheel? What is a color wheel? Would anybody like to answer in the chat box? Meenakshi, would you like to answer? Or Ria? Monalika, Lahari. So Ibrahim says composition of all the colors which are basically formed from primary colors. Primary, secondary, and tertiary colors. Yes, you could say that, Meenakshi, correct. Ria, do you understand what are warm and cool colors? It is a hue of color. Ria, what is a hue of color? Do you understand? All right, we'll sum it up. Do you understand what are warm and cool colors? That's it. The shades in a color.
Ma'am, the warm colors are like red, yellow, orange, green, and the cool colors are blue, gray, light blue, and all the combination of blue and black or gray. That's all.
Correct, correct. But green are also different types of greens, which are cool greens and warm greens. Do you have colors right now, everybody? Do you have colors, everybody in the class? Could you uh, could you divide warm and cool colors from your colors? अगर आपके पास whatever colors you have, pencil colors, oil pastels, plastics, anything. Can you divide the colors that you have right now in warm and cool? Ria, if you don't have colors, please tell me what according to you are warm and cool colors. Ibrahim, Meenakshi, Manalika, can you do that? Are you doing it? Ibrahim says red, yellow, orange, green are warm, and light blue, light green are cool colors. Okay. So basically, warm colors are colors which you see in the sun, in fire, etc. Basically, the sunny or the fiery colors are the warm colors, and the colors which you see in ice or snow, those are the cool colors. It does not necessarily give that those are only light blues. It can be any sort of blues. Those are cool colors, and can be any sort of colors which are which have yellow tint in it. Those are called warm colors. Ria says warm colors red, orange, and yellow. Example fire, cool colors blue, green, magenta, etc. Nice. But here, if you see, if you see it in the PPT, if I tell you these are two type of greens, which is the cooler one and which is the warmer one? Can you differentiate?
The one closer to the yellow is cool, and the one closer to the blue is warm.
True. I will give you another clear example. Give me a minute. I'm opening another color wheel. So this is again a very good example of cool and warm colors. These are the cooler greens which have a tone of blues in it, and these are the warmer greens. Understood? This is the division that is made of the color, right? Do you guys want to introduce yourself in the class so that it is a good class and we can actually communicate and learn something, bring out something in the class? I just don't want to say and make it look like a lecture. What class, what exams are you preparing for, or would you like to say something like that? Riya, Meenakshi, etc. Anybody?
Ma'am, I'm preparing for JEE-2 paper and for NATA.
All right, you are in 12th right now, Meenakshi?
Ma'am, my name is Manalika and I'm right now 12th pass out.
All right, Meenakshi.
Yeah, I'm only doing NATA, and I'm gonna go to college.
You are going to go to college. You're preparing for NATA right now. You'll be giving the NATA attempt, which is coming.
Yeah, I did one attempt.
Go, Riya. All right, next.
Ma'am, I'm preparing for NATA only.
Okay, Meenakshi. For the coming exam. Are you guys graduate, Riya and Meenakshi, or you are?
Yeah.
Currently in 12th standard. No, I have passed, but the result hasn't come yet. It's CBSE.
CBSE 12th board, right?
Yes.
No, I passed out. I did my 12th in the US, so
All right.
yeah.
And what schools are you passed out from? Riya and Meenakshi, and also Monalika.
I didn't do my high school was not here. I did it in the
Got it. Got it. What about you, Monalika and Meenakshi?
Ma'am, I have passed 12th from CBC school from Kerala.
Okay.
I'm a Keralite.
Got it. Got it.
I've completed my 12th from Delhi Public School, Faridabad.
Okay. Okay. All right. Anybody else? Ibrahim, maybe he was one of the most active students right now in the class. Would you like to introduce yourself? Ma'am, I've completed my 12th and I'm preparing for NATA JEE paper 2. Have you guys given your JEE exam, whoever is preparing for NATA here? All right. Ram, you have also given your JEE exam? Great. Anybody here preparing for NIFT or NID or UCEED, CEED? Saumitri, Lahari. All right. Meenakshi, Riya, it'll be great if you guys be a little responsive in the class. It will be very good for you and for me. Saumitri,
Sure, ma'am.
what are you preparing for?
Ma'am, I'm preparing for NATA.
I'm asking Saumitri, the other student in the class.
Well, I'm preparing for NATA, the same as her.
All right. Now, everybody here is for NATA.
Yeah.
He was not for NATA in the class. Perfect, perfect. All right, so I'll also introduce myself. I am Pragya Sachdeva. I belong to Delhi and I am from NIFT Delhi, which is the National Institute of Fashion Technology. I have graduated a year ago. And I will be mostly taking your CAT classes, which I'm good at for preparing your the subjects which I could take for your NATAs. So anybody is having any doubts till now in the class, then we will proceed. No doubts, ma'am. Perfect. Anybody else? Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
If I ask you a few questions, will you be able to answer those?
We'll try, ma'am.
Okay. Switch on the PPT again. Do you want to give some brands which have good logos or which have good texts which can be justified like these examples? Ibrahim, can we start with you or anybody can start? A brand which has some good text on it, which justifies its text as a brand. Ria, Monalika,
I think fashion brands like Dior or Chanel or Louis.
so how can you say that those are luxury brands and they're doing justice to their logos or to their text?
I think the Louis brand logo, it has L and V, so it justifies their brand name, and it also gives a fancy look to it because it's more modernized and classy.
True. All right, we'll move to our last element, which is color, and then we could move to principles of design. As I have told you before also, that this is a color wheel which most of you might have seen before also. So color plays a very important role in creating design, in choosing what sort of design you want to make. It is one of the biggest decisions to make while you make your product, your design, your pattern, your scenery or your composition, etc. Next is the color palettes, again, which portray very powerful messages uh, by choosing the correct sort of color, which I've given you examples of logos or brands also. The colors that they use give a very powerful message to their consumers. For example, McDonald's uses yellow and red colors, so they are using warm colors. They are attracting children. They are attracting hungry people. That is a very powerful color that they have used. Good composition combinations of these colors make your design look good or bad. If you don't use a very good combination, which is justifying your design, your product, then it is not supposed to look like a good design. Same goes for you must have learned about the combinations, which are analogous colors, monologous colors in your color theory class, that how to choose these color combinations to make your design look good or bad, or to pop out, or to grab attention. Right? Yes, no? Yes, no, maybe, everybody. All right. So these are the basic 7 elements of design, which are the ingredients of your design, as I've told you before also. So these elements of design are basically, as I told you, ingredients. And now we learn how these elements of design can be used in a process, or by choosing some rules, which are the principles of design, how you can use these further. Anybody, any doubts till now? Can we proceed to principles of design? All right, Saumitri says, yes, ma'am, Ibrahim. Everybody, I need a yes from everybody. Anybody, any doubts till now? Okay. Monalika, Meenakshi, Monalika, no ma'am, Meenakshi, no ma'am. All right, got your message. Ria, Lahari, Strata, please type it in the text box, yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am. Okay. All right. All right, next we proceed to principles of design. I have a video for you all for principles of design. I'll be explaining it through the video, and we will proceed through the video. Please tell me if the video is visible, everybody. Is the video visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So principles of design. The first principle is balance. I want you to note down these principles if it is accessible for you guys too. The first principle of design is balance. A distribution of equal visual weight. When you create any sort of design, be it any product, be it any pattern, which is a very common example in your NATA exams also, to create patterns or to understand what is how you can create patterns. There should be a balance in the left, right of the design. As you can see in this image also, there's a balance in these shapes. The weight of these shapes are equal, right? So visually, your design should look balanced. It should not have some other design on one side, and I will talk about this remote. If you see, this is, can you see my video, everybody? Are you able to see my video?
Yes, ma'am.
So if you see, this remote is a balanced design. If I divide it from between, then you'll be able to see that it is equal on both the sides. It is a symmetrical, balanced design. If it would have had buttons placed differently, then it would have been an asymmetrical balanced design, which are further examples of balance. But you need to understand balance right now, which is, this is a balanced design. If you divide it from between, it will still be a balanced design because it is balanced on both the sides. If it would have been a triangular remote here, then again it won't be a good design because it wouldn't have been a balanced design. Uh, which is alignment, an arrangement forming a straight line. Again, this is also an aligned design. This is also a good example of aligned design after balance. All the buttons are aligned in a very good and a proper manner. If you can see this, these buttons are also aligned to each other. These are aligned. These are aligned in one line. This is also a good example of aligned. So when you have alignment in your design, windows are also a very good example of design, of alignment of design. If you see windows of a house, uh, you will see those are aligned in one line. Windows are not aligned like this, up and down. They are in just one straight line. That is why they are considered to be a good design. When there is no alignment, it depends upon the principle of design that you're choosing. When there is no alignment, there is less possibility that the design looks good. There can be a pattern, of course, which we'll study further, but a good design also has these alignment. Now we will come to elements. If you see those dots that we had studied, the first element of design, these are again dots. And when these dots are aligned in a way that they create a pattern, or maybe railway tracks, those are also aligned. Those are rectangles, those are lines, which is elements of design. The lines of a railway track are elements of a design, and they are used by the principle using alignment by aligning the railway track in one form, right? Understood? Yes, no, maybe. Right? Please speak up. I I won't be able to see the chat box again and again. Can you give me a good example of alignment, everybody? Anybody in the class who could give me a good example of alignment?
A Rubik's Cube.
Right, correct, true. That can also be considered as a pattern. But yeah, it is also alignment. Anybody else? You can also type in the text box I have. right now, and right now able to see the text box.
I'm a laptop keypad.
Yes, true. That is also aligned. Perfect.
Flower field.
Uh, you can say that those are also aligned because those are placed in such a way that they're aligned together. Correct. We'll move to the next principle of design. Is my screen visible? Next is emphasis, which is accentuation of importance. Emphasis is a very important principle of design. By choosing emphasis in anything, you are creating, you understand by basic English what is emphasis. You are actually accentuating any object. You're creating emphasis on that particular object. You can also get questions specifically in NATA. You will be given patterns like these. If you can see my screen. I don't think I have a good example. This is not a good example of pattern. You might be given patterns of different, or maybe different designs wherein you have to decide what principle is used. So emphasis is again a very important principle. Emphasis can also be created by using warm colors, as I've told you before. Also, that is why I was exaggerating more on warm and cool colors. When you choose warm colors, you emphasize an object. So if you see this pencil also, which I'm holding, the yellow color is making an emphasis, right? Right? If you the background is a little neutral and this yellow color is making emphasis, it is attracting, it is accentuating, it is creating emphasis in this whole scene. So this is what emphasis creates. It grabs attention. It is usually for attracting. It is usually done by choosing warm colors which have a longer wavelength by using reds and yellows, etc. If you see this bottle also, the emphasis is over here and on this red color because the background is a little neutral and this color and this red color has emphasis on it. Right? Right? Yes, no, maybe. All right, we'll move. So, the next element of design is proportion, which is scaling of objects in relation to each other. So what do you actually understand by proportion? When you're making a composition, when you're choosing a composition, everything should be proportionate to each other. So a pencil cannot be larger than a human body when you make a composition. It should be in proportion to the human body. If you're making a building of this size, so your human being will be of this size. Your human being cannot be of this size, which is they should be in proportion to each other. Are you able to see my video or not? The examples that I'm giving.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
All right. So again, you can make a larger pencil in your sheet. There could be a larger pencil in your sheet, but then that can be termed as an ant eye view. For an ant, for a small ant, a pencil can be a larger object, but for a human being, a pencil has to be a small object. Whenever you're creating any composition, any pattern, any scenery, everything should be in proportion to each other. The kind of composition that you're making, the kind of question that you are given, you have to decide what is the proportion that you have to choose for your composition or for your design, or the elements that you have chosen from the elements of design. Next is movement, which is a directed path of optical motion. Movement is again another principle of design which decides the movement of your eye basically. As I've given you example of a railway track, your eye is moving in that direction. Your eye is creating a movement. The scenery is creating a movement. So that is directing your path, directing the optical motion of yourself, of a human being or any being on this planet. It is directing a path for your vision that is creating a movement. In this picture also, if you can see, this path. Are you able to see my screen, everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you able to see the pictures that I'm talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
This picture is creating an optical motion. It is creating a movement for your eye, which is by the element of design, which is line. It is creating a movement. The pillar here, this is also creating a movement. This is creating a movement. The hand here is just by simple leading lines. There's a movement in the optical part, which is actually showing that this hand is a little embossed. It is creating emphasis again. I'm using that principle of design here in this whole scenery. So these are the few principles of design that I've talked about. Can you name it, everybody, anybody in the class? What are principles we have done till now? Or any doubt till now? Balance, Brian says, balance, emphasis, movement. Any other, we have done one more principle, I'm supposing. First is balance. Alignment you have left, Ibrahim. Balance, alignment, movement, emphasis, and proportion. I want you guys right now to click pictures around you of emphasis in any scenery or just from your phone, regular pictures, anything around you. Click pictures, any 5 pictures that are creating emphasis. It could be this pencil also, like I've shown you. A lot of things around me have emphasis. This is creating emphasis, which is yellow color. Or maybe in this bottle, the emphasis that I've told you is blue and red. Any 5 pictures, I want everybody right now to click, which are creating emphasis in any product or in any scene. Again, you have 5-7 minutes to do this. Guys, do you want to do a few exercises in between, or I should just proceed with the principles now? It will be great if you do it. I'm waiting for 5 minutes. Are you done? Everybody in the class? Did you understand the exercise? I will not proceed further if you don't show me this exercise that I've given to you. This is a very important topic, which is principles of design, and it does come in your exam in some or the other form. Saumitri, Riya, Monalika, Meenakshi, Sujana, Lahari, Ibrahim. Please show me what you have done. I will keep on asking and not proceed. This is the last time I'm asking. Anybody wants to show the assignment given right now, or should I proceed? All right, I'll proceed. Thanks, Sri, I'll proceed. So,
Hello.
Hello.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
मैं मोनालिका की मदर बोल रही हूँ मैम.
Yes, 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 ma'am.
मैम मोनालिका अटेंटिव थी इस क्लास में अभी तक?
हाँ जी.
आप उसको करा रहे हैं तो वो अटेंटिव थी मैम?
Yes, ma'am. मोनालिका फिर भी रिस्पॉन्ड कर रही है as compared to other students.
एक्चुअली ये अलग रूम में पढ़ रही है. इसके ब्रदर का कहना है कि बीच बीच में नेटफ्लिक्स पे मूवी देख रही है. तो मैं जस्ट कंफर्म ये करना चाह रही हूँ, क्योंकि अगर बच्चा दूसरी चीज देख रहा होगा तो वो क्लास में अटेंटिव नहीं होगा.
यस मैम. मैंने अभी काम भी दिया है तो दिखाया तो नहीं है मोनालिका ने मेरे को, और मैं बार बार पूछ रही हूँ कि काम दिखाओ.
रिस्पॉन्ड कर रही है आपकी बात में?
मैम बीच में कर रही है, सारी बातों का नहीं कर रही है.
सारी बातों का नहीं कर रही है. तो आपको क्या लगता है कि वो देख ही रही होगी मूवी?
मैम अब इस बारे में आई एम नॉट श्योर, बट
I have ma'am, I have made all the patterns and the
मैम देखो
principle of design
पेरेंट्स
I
क्या
followed
कर
it.
सकते हैं मैम, वैसे ही फूक सकते हैं ना, इससे जहां काम वहां मैंने करा दिया।
हाँ
ये
जी,
क्या है?
हाँ जी।
हाँ जी। अब ये बच्चा ऐसे करेगा तो बताओ सारे दिन उसके ऊपर गार्ड बन के थोड़ी ना बैठा जाएगा, अब इनको कौन समझाएगा ये चीज।
जी बिल्कुल, कोई बात नहीं मैम। अब मोनिका को आप बोलिए, क्लास में अटेंटिव रहेगी तभी एग्जाम अच्छा होगा।
मैम मेरे बोलने से कुछ होता है तो मैं तो सारे दिन ही बोलती रहती हूँ।
हाँ जी, हाँ जी। वो तो है ही। कोई बात नहीं, अब आप बोलो इसे कि जो मैंने काम दिया है वो मुझे करके दिखाए, मैं देती हूँ 2 मिनट्स, या जो भी अभी तक किया है वो एटलीस्ट स्क्रीन शेयर करके दिखाए मेरे को।
ठीक है मैम, ओके, थैंक यू।
अभी हाँ। Monalika, do you want to show what you have done till now? एक सेकंड। These are the principles of design that you have written. Monalika, yes or no? मुझे दिख नहीं रहा है clearly.
Yes, ma'am, I've written all the principles and the 2 patterns which you said before.
And elements.
Elements I haven't written.
And the assignment that I had given right now, जो मैंने आपको कहा था pictures click करके
Didn't listen that because mother called me.
आप मुझे, मैं आपको दे रही हूँ 2-3 मिनट्स, फटाफट मुझे 2-3 emphasis की pictures click करके दिखाओ। I'm again waiting for 2-3 minutes. Everybody click pictures of emphasis and then show them to me. I'm again emphasizing on this topic because it is a very important topic. Ria, for this assignment, you don't need a paper, you just need your phone in front of you. I've asked you to click pictures which create emphasis. You don't need a pen or paper for this activity.
I found
Yes, Riya. Just a second.
it's actually the end of the curtain rod.
Got it. That's it. You have to show 5 pictures or maybe of any elements. Ma'am, it is saying I can't share files in the meeting. Hold on, Samitri. I'm not able to figure out from where can I order. Yes, now you will be able to share your screen. Samitri, now you will be able to do that. Riya, would you like to show some more pictures? Or anybody else? Samitri, are you able to share now?
I found 2 other things. This is actually a light, and then these are bottles.
This is a good example of which principle?
I think it's color theory and emphasis too.
Alignment. Because these are aligned correctly.
Yeah, alignment. Yeah.
Right?
Or
maybe you could also say balance in this. These are also balanced because there are two on each side.
I think it's contrast too because it's going.
Yeah, we'll come to contrast also now. Samitri, आपको दिखाना है or should I proceed? There's very less time left for the class. Riya, you have taken this picture, Lahari. Yeah, this is a Google picture. I wanted you to click pictures. All right, we'll proceed now. This is Riya again. Riya, what principle are you following here?
Alignment.
Correct. Correct. Good. We will proceed now. So the last principle that we talked about was movement. I've already explained to you a directed part of your optical motion is movement. Pattern, an orderly repetition of an object. This is termed as pattern. Riya, could you show the picture of the curtain that you clicked right now again to everybody? Everybody, can you see Ria's screen? Everybody, Monali, Stometry, Ibrahim, Minakshi, Monalika. Are you able to see Ria's screen video? So this is a very good example of pattern that she has clicked. The curtain at my back, also usually textiles, bed sheets, curtains, usually have a pattern on them. Thank you, Ria. So again, this was a very good example of pattern. Patterns are repetitive. Patterns are repetition of an object or of any element that you have created, or any sort of element that you are choosing, that are dots, squares that are used here. This is also a pattern if you see. Repetition of an orderly repetition of any sort of objects or elements of design, which are line, form, square, triangles, objects, anything which is repeating itself in an orderly formation, it is known as a pattern. Are you able to see the pattern on my screen? You also get example questions like create a pattern using only complementary colors, or maybe using just these particular shapes, which are circle or square. This is a very good example of creating pattern using circle or square. Or maybe a textile for a 10-year-old girl, for her room, a bed sheet. You have to create a pattern for that. Then you should know what colors that you should use, which I've explained in elements of design also, that it is very important for you to choose the correct colors. So for example, when you have to make a bed sheet for a girl's room or a 10-year-old girl's room, you will use soft colors or pastel colors or colorful colors, or maybe the sort of colors that usually a girl child likes to likes in a room. Or maybe a boy child, then you could make cards on it, or strong elements on it, which are actually complementary for a boy's room. Pattern again. Is my screen visible? There was a glitch in between. Is my screen visible? All right, so the next is contrast. Again, you understand what is contrast, the basic English, what is contrast, when there's a accentuation of one color and the other color is a little lighter than the other color. This is a very good example of contrast, which is black and yellow. Or this is also a very good example of contrast, which is warm and cool colors. So contrast cannot can be differentiated just on the basis of colors. Contrast can also be differentiated on the basis of sizes. So these two circles are contrasting each other, which is a smaller circle and other is a bigger circle. This is again a good example of contrast. Contrast can be in terms of in terms of shapes also. So not just in sizes or color, but in formation of a shape, of a form, of a 2D or a 3D form. This can also be termed as a contrast. So this is contrast in terms of shape. This is contrast in terms of sizes. This is contrast in terms of sizes. This is contrast in terms of colors. We had again shown you a picture which was a very good example of contrast. Maybe you could also click pictures and then show it to me in the next class or right now after the class. And you must have also heard contrast or used contrast a lot in your school times or maybe in any of your paintings or drawings that you have done before. Next is unity. It is a harmonious arrangement of elements. When your elements are harmoniously arranged, or when they are harmoniously arranged together, they are meeting somewhere, some part of your elements elements of design, which is circle here or a dot here or a form here, a shape here, when these are harmoniously together, they are touching somewhere, together, they are in a unity, harmoniously, then it is the term unity in the principles of design. So now, what is the difference between a pattern and a unity? This is also a good example of a unity or a pattern, you could say, because there are repetition of objects. Anybody? What is the difference between unity and pattern? Till now, if you have understood. Anybody in the class?
Pattern is a repetition of any element and unity is the arrangement of any element.
Yes. So unity pattern can be of different shapes and different forms also. And it is not necessary that they are meeting harmoniously in one platform. They are harmoniously meeting somewhere. When they are meeting together, then that is the principle of unity. When they are not meeting, when they are in a repetition, then that can be called a pattern. I'll show you the example again. So this is unity again. And if you see, this is a pattern, or maybe this is a pattern. It is not necessary that your elements are meeting together somewhere, but in unity, it is important. This is also unity because they are somewhere or the other meeting together. It is not necessary that all the elements are same. This is also unity. Understood? Yes, no, maybe. That is it. That was the last principle of design. And one more thing. The principle that we read as movement, it can also be termed as rhythm. You remember we talked about movement here first? The name of movement as a principle can be rhythm also. Right? Got it, everybody? Ryan says yes. Meenakshi, Monalika, Saumitri. Right? Do you want me to give you an assignment or you won't be doing it? Monalika? All right, I'll write it over here in the text box. Thank you. It is a very small activity again. You have to design your name using the principle of contrast by using different colors. That is it. By using two colors, design your name by the principle of contrast. And these can be three-dimensional alphabets. You can quickly do it. All right, tell me the principle of design used over here in this letter A. I want answers from everybody in the class right now. Monalika, Saumitri, Meenakshi. What principle is used here?
Contrast.
Yes, correct. That is it. Maybe you could do the assignment in your homework and show it to me in the next class. Any doubt till here? In principles or any elements that you've done or principles that you have done today in the class? So can we end the class here? All right. I'm guessing that there are no doubts till now and we could proceed to the next topic in the next class. So that is it for the class today. Right, everybody?
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you.